Hello. I'm getting on a little bit early because I'm actually redoing my talk from Tuesday because YouTube was not working. So I thought I want to get on early, make sure everything is working well, and I'm happy that it is working well today. So give a few more minutes, and while you're just sitting here waiting to see if more people will join. I'm hoping I'm doing this during lunchtime because my hope is that you're at least taking breaks and nourishing your mind and your body, especially with either water or some nutrients. Doesn't have to be big. Um, so getting comfortable. Hopefully you're sitting. Yet obviously it's your do what you naturally do. So I'm going to walk us through breathing activity. And if you're, I am hoping to weave in like live question and answer section, yet I'm going to wait till I can get more people joining as I have an assistant who'll be able to help me with that. But for now, I am a big proponent of doing things in baby steps because to make it work. And so doing lives is something that's new for me, something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but as last time I had all these tech issues, I have to learn how to use it. So I'm baby stepping in before I add another part component to these talks. So, but I would love if you have any questions to type them in, and I'm definitely going to weave them in my next talk. But also eventually I'll open up to more question and answer live is my intention. My hope is to get enough followers that I can do a membership. Um, and do more of that. But for now, starting where I can start. I'm going to take a breath. And, all right, it is 12:15 in Chicagoland. I'm Debra Wallace, licensed marriage and family therapist, and I started these pause and process um, for well, one, I know we all need them, but also for my own well-being, as there's a lot going on. I have an introduction video to this pause and process, which I recommend you. That's already been recorded. But in a nutshell, my mother recently passed away. I was her caregiver. I have a lot going on, and also as a collective, our entire world, we've gone through a pandemic, we have gone through wars still happening, and currently in the U.S. there's massive changes happening. And I do want to let you know we all have bias, and I'm just going to be upfront that I agree that we need change. However, I'm a trauma specialist. That's what I specialize in. I'm also parent-child relationships and human development. My master's human development in family studies. But that anything that happens too fast, too much, and too soon, and then when we have no place to process, express, and make sense of it, becomes trauma. And this is anything that happens too much, too fast, too soon for our unique nervous system to handle. So, like, that's why some people can handle more and some people can handle less. It's not a character flaw. It's not anything wrong with you. It's just every body is different. You'll hear a lot of themes that I bring up in all my talks. Um, but anything that happens too much, too fast, too soon, and then having no safe space to process and express and make sense of it is going to become stuck in our bodies. The body keeps a score. It's going to create illness. It's can even like that's why around our bellies that it's like it doesn't know what to do, and so it takes toxins and rolls fat around it and stores it until we have time to process it and move it. And so and then it also explodes in our relationships. And so, my intention with my work with clients and in these videos is to show how we can actually, less is more. Actually, the best way to heal and deal with things is actually in small bites. Less is more. You'll hear me say that a lot. Um, uh, so that you can start to find moments of pause so that you can actually take time to process and integrate what's going on with your life so that you can then make choice. So a lot of times we have reactions, we have default mechanisms. I'm going to do more talks on that, but that um, then we're going to react. But if we don't make this time to pause and listen to our mind, bodies, spirits, and our nervous system, then and see what we might need to make some changes so that we can be our best self. So um, that's in a nutshell. And actually, you might see I had someone ask a few questions on my talk from last week, and so I'm actually going to weave in because they're great questions, and I want to inspire more questions. But they asked, when I say nervous system, what do I mean by that? So if you see the thumbnail for today, and I found this picture, this was actually done by chiropractor in Australia. I lived in New Zealand for a while, but I really enjoy this image. And it says, "Your nervous system is the master control system of your body. Through your nervous system, you coordinate all body functions and movements, adapt to stress, sense the world, think, feel, express emotion. Your nervous system keeps you alive and healthy. And the basics of it are your brain, your sense organs, your spinal cord, and your nerves." Um, I love this image. Actually, I wanted to find the image. I went to the Human Alive, the Human Works exhibit. It went around the world. I took my kids to it, and I had a literal picture of a real central nervous system, and it was so amazing. It looks like branches of a tree. So cool. Um, but so when I say nervous system, this is your nervous system. And as I did a talk, one of my most recent ones, pause and whereas I'm talking about somatic therapy. Somatic therapy, I use a lots of theories and models, but somatic therapy is one of the ones. Therapy is one of the ones I use the most. Actually, I'm just going to show this image because, what that means is, you'll hear me talk a lot about in these times mindfulness, um, and that is allowing you to observe your thoughts and your experiences without judgment. And I like to add with compassion and body awareness. Begins with developing a keen awareness of befriending bodily sensations. This is noticing things like tension, patterns, impulses, bodily behaviors, quality of breath, heart rate, neutral, positive experiences. I'm going to add and negative. And by turning into these, you start to recognize how it's affecting your physical body and then begin identifying physical qualities of safety. And there's grounding techniques, mindfulness movement, breath work, healing, touch therapy. So this is like really in a nutshell what I'm wanting to um, help people create pathways to do this in their daily life, because when we don't, our bodies, our minds, our spirits, our relationships are going to take the toll. So um, my aim is to also, so in these, I like to give a little psychoeducation like I did there, as well as walk you through a mindfulness, a somatic exercise. And there's so many out there. And as these talks go on, I'm going to weave in more and more concepts, um, and such. So the other important thing that I want to highlight and is I had noticed in my previous descriptions of what I'm doing here, I included my disclaimer in this one because it's really important that I'm saying this is healthy, and it is. It is common, and especially more common if you've had unprocessed trauma in your life, that when you stop to pause and listen to your body, it can actually start to feel uncomfortable and scary and unsettling. And so I do really want to stress that this is, you're the expert. Anyone who comes to work with me, I tell everyone you are the expert of your own self. And my job is to be a guide for you, a highly trained, educated guide to help you navigate the really hard, overwhelming, scary stuff that happens to us all. And so you know, trust yourself. The fact that you've just made a step to even consider pausing is progress. And you want to do things in steps. Less is more. Even if it's a good thing, it's too much because you're just going to overstimulate the nervous system and activate stress responses. So please listen to your body. So as I'm walking through the breathing mindfulness activity, if it's too uncomfortable, if memories are suddenly coming, because that's common, like things that you haven't been dealing with and now you're going to listen to can come up, and it comes up in thoughts and images and sensations and feelings. And so being trauma informed, it's really important um, that you consult. So if something's too overwhelming, it's really important that you seek. It's like if sitting and being paused is too disturbing for you and distressing, that is an indicator that you likely have um, more trauma potentially, or definitely big stressors in your mind, body, and spirit that need safe places to process. So please look out for a therapist or a friend, someone you trust. So you can read my disclaimer because clearly this platform is not enough to give tailored support. Um, and so putting that out there, please listen to your body and do what feels right. And if you only listen to a minute and you need to end, fine. That's fine. I just want you to know that it's important, like, that does signal. I have many YouTube videos talking about positive reframe on trauma and stress and why we need to feel emotions, that your body is indicating that you need something. Um, and something needs attention, you need connection, you need vital needs met, you need a safe place to process some things so that you can make adjustments in your life um, to find more pleasure and peace, because that is the benefit. So, you know, um, making time to pause and process is going to increase more pleasure and peace in the long run. But I just need to let everyone know that often at first it's uncomfortable. So thank you for showing up. And because our brain will, anything that's new or unfamiliar is going to initially be perceived as a threat. And so then you're going to activate your defense mechanisms. You're going to have resistance. You're going to want to scrutinize it. Devil advocate comes out. So those are all normal things that happen when we react in defensive, which I will talk more about in other talks. And then I did want to say the other excellent question I got was, what did I mean by process? And process, by bare minimum, at this point, it's a lot of things, but bare minimum where we need to start is just identifying and labeling and recognizing awareness. So, because you can't adjust anything, you can't work through anything if you're not even aware of it. So, the first step to processing is just taking a moment to name it and label it. So, I'll mention a lot of work with Dr. Dan Siegel. Name it detainment is one of his strategies. And so that's when I say processing at this stage. Again, I have many talks. That's why you would go to a trained counselor or therapist or have your friend where you can process a little bit more deeply and address more root issues. But at bare minimum, just processing just means you're noticing it. So I'm noticing. So I'm going to walk us through this little breathing now. So take a moment to get comfortable wherever you want to sit. I tend to close my eyes because that feels comfortable, but I'm going to try to keep them open for you. But again, listen to your body, do what feels right to you. So, breathing in through your nose, exhaling. And you'll hear me a lot say breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And there's some science behind that. However, just to get us started, as I'm saying these talks, I'm just building and meeting where everybody's at, and most people don't make a practice of this. So noticing whether you tend to breathe in through your nose, or do you tend to breathe in through your mouth? Do you tend to breathe in through your nose or exhale through your mouth, or vice versa? Just notice what you do without direction. And which of the in and the out breath you notice more? Is it the in breath or the out breath? Where do you notice the oxygen is rising? Is it in your lungs? It is in your gut? Where do you feel the breath move? And there's no right or wrong in this space. And if there's a lot of us have an inner critic that comes out when it's quiet. That's why we keep moving because we don't want to feel uncomfortable. But if that part says, oh, am I doing something wrong? I don't know what I'm doing. Just notice that. Just say, oh, I'm noticing that I'm feeling self-conscious. I'm noticing that I don't know what to do. I'm noticing it feels awkward. And when I say noticing also thoughts, feelings, sensations, it's like you're scanning your body from head to toe and noticing thoughts, feelings, sensations, images, memories, distractions. It's funny, I'm noticing the same thing that I noticed when I did the talk on Tuesday, that my toes were clenched up. And so they're losing blood pressure to them. They're feeling a little cold and tight. So now I am now laying them firmly and gently at the same time on the ground. And so I'm noticing now that I just did that, I feel some release in those toes. And I'm in a sunroom. It's my favorite room in the house. So, but it is actually, the floor is more cold. It's linoleum. So I'm noticing the cold. It's a little rough. And so just notice, how do your feet or legs, no matter how you're sitting, fall into the floor? I noticed a thought because I'm mindful of time and wanting to keep these to 15 to 30 minutes. So I looked at the clock. So I noticed that urge to look at the clock, and I did that. I noticed some tension in my upper back. When I'm adjusting my shoulders, I have wind chimes. So I'm noticing some wind chimes. I'm noticing. So I often talk about going through the senses. So sight, smell, touch, um, hearing. I'm also taste. I just drank some coffee so I can taste the bitterness. In fact, I first practiced mindfulness was an eating activity, um, slowing down. So if you are eating, I encourage to notice the textures, the flavors, the where do you chew on the side of your mouth, because when I did it with a carrot, and I tell you, I will never. This was, oh my gosh, my son's 20, my son was 2 at the time, so a long time ago. And it was the best carrot. I can remember everything about that experience, and it tasted so good. So that's part of the benefits. As you practice this, you get to experience, not because if we numb out the negative, we also then numb out the joy and the positive. And so as you allow yourself to feel and connect to yourself, you're also going to access your higher power, your wisdom, because when we're calm um, and balanced, we can have more clarity and compassion. So take another breath where you're consciously breathing into your nose. Exhale long through your mouth. And I had introduced in one of my previous talks the idea of a container. So if anything came up that you notice accelerated your heart rate, started your brain looping, ruminating, like there are so many signals, and we're going to talk more about these in these times. But just briefly, if anything came up that was uncomfortable, put it in a container. This is something that's real or imagined, to kind of just tuck it away. And it is something I would encourage to revisit with someone that feels safe and you trust, because there's usually always some sort of message or signal. And also notice maybe you're feeling ease now that you've been, um, you know, taking a few conscious deep breaths, nurturing deep breaths, oxygen. Every cell needs oxygen. Just like if you don't water a plant and you see what happens to it and it doesn't get sunlight and water, it's like that's what's happening to our cells. It's what's happening to our self, um, our image, our self-esteem, our relationships. And so I'm hoping that as you practice these deep breaths, giving yourself permission to pause and to process and connect to your mind, body, and spirit and nervous system, that you're going to create some ease and maybe some lightness. I know my shoulders are feeling lighter now. My feet are definitely feeling lighter um, because that's our nervous systems, our mind, bodies, and spirits are phenomenal. And my hope is to maximize human potential because we are just barely scratching the surface of what we can do as human beings. Um, so, taking this time and space to connect is so important for so many reasons. So, as I mentioned, if anything came up, you put it in your container. Also, I have a video that's called How to Process Negative Emotions Quickly, and it's an acronym. I created it. It's called ABCs. So it's like my quickest way that I say to process things when we don't have that much time. And A stands for acknowledge, B stands for breathe, and C stands for a coping thought that feels true and specific to the current situations that are going on. A lot is happening in our world. A lot is out of our control. There's a lot of uncertainty. And so a coping thought here could potentially be, I'll acknowledge, yes, whatever is going on for you, I can guarantee is a lot. I'm sure some people can have it worse, but our nervous system only knows our lived experience. So you got to meet yourself where you're at. And so a simple acknowledgement is yes, I am under a lot of stress. There is a lot out of my control, and that's scary. Breathing, and I often keep breathing while you're saying those things. And then a coping thought that feels true is I'm not alone. I've handled worse. I can get through this. I'm a good person. Tailor it to what feels true and accurate for you. I'm actually going to do a video again on it because I love the C's because I'm going to add compassion is really key. I think part of that acknowledgement is being compassionate with ourselves, and it helps create some space so we can breathe and think more clearly and access our higher functioning skills and our wisdom. And then C, container for anything that we can't quite, we won't be able to process in this time period. Put it in container, and I really encourage that you make time to get curious. Actually, see curious. When you see, there's a lot of C's. To get curious about what's the message. What is your body? What is your mind, your spirit communicating to you? Your nervous system that's needing attention and connection. Uh, so, noticing again any thoughts, feelings, sensations. I'm hoping you're feeling some ease and some relief somewhere, and that a coping thought came up that felt true for you in this moment. I encourage to watch the video that I have on how to process negative emotions quickly. I have many other YouTube videos. I also continue on top of these Tuesdays and Thursdays, me doing this pause and process. I also do positive reframe videos on different topics. So feel free to, if you've looked at any of those positive reframes and there's a topic that you'd like a positive reframe on, please reach out. I have a website, positivereframe.org, um, and this YouTube channel on Instagram. I love sharing resources because I want us all to win. It's not a competition. I want us all to be our best selves. And the best news is that we were all born fully loaded with goodies and access to our this innate intelligence that unfortunately the way that our society has been going has unfortunately blocked us a lot from that. And we've created a lot of defenses that's not allowing that full potential to go. So, thank you so much for listening. Take wonderful care.